Our first storyteller is one of my favorites and one of your favorites. She is an author. She is the author of Lunatic Fringe, Hungry Ghost, the lesbian werewolf novels. She is the author of a book of stories, many of which came from Bawdy, Bad Dyke, and her new book, Girl Sex 101, is coming out right now. Graphic novel on how to have sex. It is beautiful. She is a winner of the best Bawdy storytelling by a fucking landslide. She is an audience favorite every single time she gets on this stage. And she's your first storyteller, which means it's time to make a fuss for Allison Moon!
So I have a question. What's better than a bisexual man? Two bisexual men. What's better than two bisexual men? Two bisexual men making out. What's better than two bisexual men making out? Two bisexual men making out with their dicks in this guy's mouth. Or so I thought. So there comes a time in every dyke's life where she looks at an erect cock and goes, For me, that happened about 8 years ago, and it was my partner's cock. It would become my partner's, well, it was always his cock, but it would become my partner and his cock. And about 2 years into this cisgendered man being my partner, and about 700 or so tours of that cock, I started thinking that maybe I should stop identifying as a dyke. Maybe I might be technically bisexual. But I had to put it to the test, actually, because the truth is, even though I was partnered to a man, I actually still really preferred women almost exclusively, except for one large exception. But I figured, I actually maybe I was just being limited in my desire for dick. Maybe I needed to start just expanding my own notions of what was possible for my own sexual identity. And so I had to starting to look at men and be like, maybe I could like that. And so I had the opportunity to expand my repertoire at a place called, I'll call Kink Camp. Kink Camp is a place that has generated many stories that have been on this stage. And Kink Camp is exactly what it sounds like. It's like summer camp. Instead of salute your shorts, it's salute your sir. Instead of capture the flag, it's capture the runaway slave. Instead of mess halls, it's messy holes. Camp stuff. So I was at Kink Camp. I was going with my partner Reed, and a bunch of my lovers were going to be there. And so I was excited to enjoy, sexy times with my sexy lovers. And because I have great taste, my partner is a bisexual man. And because I have great taste, my female lovers' partners tend to be bisexual men as well. So I figured, this would be the great opportunity for me to see if I can expand that repertoire to include peens as well as poons. So at kink camp, there was one evening where I was cuddling with my partner Reed and my friend Jessica and her boyfriend were all cuddling with us. Brad was his name. And the four of us were cuddling. And I'm like, you know what? This feels like an opportunity. So I said, hey, Reed, Brad, would you like to make out? And Brad, because he's a slut and also eager to please, said yes. Reed, because he's a slut, almost said yes, but he also realized that he had leverage. So he said, what are you bringing to the table? And so I said, how about you guys make out while I put your cocks in my mouth? Now, Reed had not known. Thank you, yes, I think that deserves a woo. Thank you, yes. Yes. So yeah, while he had not known about my plan to expand my repertoire, so he was excited and yet surprised by this choice. But I agreed and he agreed, and so we found ourselves a middle ground where we could all win. And so the boys started rubbing their beards together in the holiest of ways, while I worked my way down to the best seat in the house. And I pulled down their briefs, so their little semi-erections would spring out in that way that I find so delightful. And I was excited, and so I was like, okay, so I'm gonna touch them both. This was new. I had never done this before. I had really only gotten any play with one dick, really, ever. I mean, I had ridden cocks before in college, but let's be honest, that was really just like a dildo attached to a smooth body. This time I actually cared about their pleasure, and so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give you what I know how to do. And so I was using the moves that I knew how to do based on this partnership with this one guy. And so I grabbed Reed's dick, like I know he likes it, towards the base with firm pressure, and I jerked the skin against the erectile tissue like I know he likes, kind of avoided the frenulum and the corona, not his thing. Okay, so I knew that. And then I licked and I tickled his scrotum, which I know he likes. I gave good firm pressure in the perineum, which I know he likes, in the mouth, which I know he likes. Avoided the nipples, ignored them, he doesn't care. I'm like, okay, so I'm doing this whole thing. And see, I unfortunately went into this situation with a misapprehension that I think is very common for dykes. I think probably also very common for women in general, maybe even people in general, which is that I kind of always saw vulvas as these like deeply intricate, individualized connections between personality and genitals that are very unique and deeply calibrated to the specifications of the hormones that are pulsing through that person's body and the way that their nerves work. They're like a codex of pleasure that you have to figure out the exact combination to be able to open it, if you will. I feel like in that way, like the vulvas are like the Reese's peanut butter cups of the genital system, in that there might be a wrong way to eat them, but there's no one way to eat a vulva. Right, you know. Meanwhile, I think I kind of took for granted that penises were like the dum-dums of the genital system, in which you really just have to put them in your mouth, swirl them around a couple times. There's really only one way to eat a lollipop, you know? That was my assumption. So when it came time to give Brad some attention, I gripped the base of his penis and I jerked the skin across his erectile tissue. I avoided the frenulum. I tickled his balls, put pressure on his perineum. And he's like, Allison, can you hold on a second? You know, I really like frenulum, tickling my frenulum, a lot of sloppy wetness at the top of my penis. Shaft stuff doesn't really do anything for me. If you want to touch my scrotum, just squeeze the balls real hard. You can lick the perineum, and I really love it when my nipples are tweaked. I'm like, okay, okay, sure, yeah, totally. Okay, so I'm nippling the tip of the penis, and I'm squeezing the balls real hard, and I'm kind of licking his perineum, and I'm tweaking his nipples. Okay, so I'm tickling, I'm tweaking, I'm squeezing, and I'm licking. Okay, so tickle, tweak, squeeze, and lick. Okay, tickle, tweak, squeeze, lick. Tickle, tweak, squeeze, lick. Tickle, tweak, squeeze, lick. Tickle, tweak, squeeze, lick. Okay, great. And then I'm seeing that Reed is like, oh, okay, I'm just sitting here making out. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, now I'm gripping, and I'm jerking, and I'm licking and kissing, but no nip. And I'm gripping and I'm jerking. And I'm licking and no nip, and I'm gripping and I'm jerking, and I'm licking and no nip, and I'm gripping and I'm jerking, and I'm licking no nip, and I'm gripping and I'm jerking, I'm licking no nip, and I'm okay, sure. Now I'm tickling and I'm tweaking, and I'm tickling and tweaking, I'm tickling and I'm tweaking, and I'm licking and I'm squeezing, and now okay, I'm gripping and I'm jerking. Okay. All right, so now I'm doing that and back and forth. Now it's basically like I'm spinning plates, right? So like if I spend too much time on one, the other one starts wobbling a little bit, and maybe might lose it. And so okay, so I'm taking to screaming and then tickling over here, and I'm not tweaking there, but I have to squeeze hard there, but I have to jerk there, and I'm like, oh my god, and I just start fucking skiing. Mix it up now, I'm cross-country skiing a little bit. But shit, this is way harder than I thought it was going to be. And I'm kind of a little bit done and exhausted, and Reed sees that, bless his heart, and he just kind of grips his own penis and starts jerking. I'm like, you see me? Okay. Okay, great, thank you. And then Jessica sees me, and she just starts doing that. Okay, you got that? Okay, good, thank you. And now I'm watching her do this thing that I even know that people like. And he's just jerking stuff. And I learned something about myself that night. You know what? I may not have been a dyke after that point, but I did learn that too many dykes or dicks really does ruin the dyke. So, thank you.